Hello, my name is Kostas Magus, and in this video I will speak about teaching and learning democratic values in early childhood education. In many researches, you can find incidents and practices linked to the treatment and teaching of topics that pertain to democratic values in early childhood education. These practices mainly focus on discussions among educators and students prompted by some events that occurred in the kindergarten during the school day. Since preschool age is a period of time when intense self-regarding sentiments may show up, students' interaction in the kindergarten provide plenty of opportunities for reflection on matters of democracy. In this slide, you can read an indicative episode among 3 girls and 2 boys in a kindergarten classroom. Please read this episode, and after it, we can comment on it. So, in this incident, there are 2 separate minor instances that offer children the opportunity to understand the meaning of democracy. In the first one, while the 3 girls initially object to the boys' request to get mattresses for themselves, they resolve this problem by sharing them, 2 for us, 2 for them, which the kindergarten teacher corroborates as an effective way to handle the situation. The question of handling leadership is a common phenomenon in preschool children's play. While it provides an excellent opportunity for discussing matters pertaining to democracy. In the above-mentioned incident, the 3 girls find a democratic solution by themselves, whereby all 3 of them will be the leaders simultaneously. This is a decision which is also quite common in the framework of children's play. Now you can read a second episode. I can read it for you. 2 boys, Nikos and George, play with Lego bricks. Nikos has a larger physique than George, as well as a more intense personality. He has gathered many more bricks at his side than George has, even though he has not used them yet. At some point, George asks Nikos to give him some bricks so that he can complete his Lego creation. Nikos refuses, but George insists. Nikos gets up and pushes George, who breaks into tears. The kindergarten teacher could ask her students to suggest democratic solutions in order to resolve the differences between the 2 children. Such solutions could be a fair share of material right from the beginning. The 2 children's cooperation as they make their creations, and understanding each other's needs and borrowing each other's material. To this effect, children should understand that their reaction, in this case physical attack, is utterly contrary to all democratic principles, and the practitioner needs to make it clear that whoever acts in a similar way will bear the consequences of the action. In many kindergartens, at the beginning of the new school year, practitioners and students together set the class rules, usually writing them in simple words. Of course, the teacher writes them. These rules are illustrated on a piece of cardboard and are then centrally placed in the classroom. Even if children cannot read them, they can recognize the content of each rule, for they have gone through these rules in depth and agreed upon them as a team. It is important that children gradually come to realize that they need to respect the rules, not out of fear for punishment, of course, but because they fully understand the significance of the rules' content and the necessity to observe them so that the class can function effectively. Of course, it is essential that educators keep to the rules and implement the consequences agreed upon when these rules are broken. The creation of an agreement of policies is one of children's momentous education procedures about democracy. The kindergarten teacher can draw on the content of this type constitution of our class and the way it was created to explain in simple words the role of the constitution as a fundamental requirement for a country's democratic regime for the students. The teacher can also approach the subject matter through other activities, such as reading books related to this particular subject, narrating stories, showing relevant films, and using other teaching strategies and means. And let's see a third indicative episode, the last one for this video. Here, the kindergarten teacher, her name is Laura, and the children had co-created a small garden where they had planted vegetables. Laura asked if anyone wanted to say anything about the garden. One boy said, "What about all the people in the world who are hungry? I think we should give some of the food from the garden to them." The conversation continued for a few minutes about how they might donate some of their produce to a local shelter. Then Laura asked if anyone had any ideas about why some people did not have enough food. Rose talked about how her grandparents were forced off the land in Ireland by rich landowners who wanted all the land for themselves, and that was how they eventually came to live here in the United States. Yeah, like the English grabbed all of the land from the Indians, seemed one child. Comments on the episode. The kindergarten teacher simple question whether any of the children wished to say something with regard to the school garden sparked a series of responses and comments by the children. The core of the subject matter shifted to social inequalities, reasons for immigration, and forms of relationships of authority between the dominant group and the minority groups instigated by the last comment. Based on the children's question, the practitioner might not only initiate an interesting discussion on the aforementioned topics, but also think about planning a project of a longer duration, since children's comments appropriately occasioned something like that. The educator maintained her flexibility, something which is especially important regarding preschool age. In this case, not only not label as irrelevant the student's question, statement with regard to the garden, what about all of the people in the world who are hungry? I think we should give some of the food from the garden to them, but exploiting this, she spurred on the other children's interest, thus urging them to reflect on and talk about the same subject through asking them relevant questions. Thank you very much.